There are many potential hazards when working on a farm with livestock. These animals can be unpredictable, and it's important to have systems in place that keep both the livestock and the workers safe. Barry is a cattle farmer in Alberta who's going to highlight some potential hazards when working with cattle in the yard, corral, or pen. In a hazard assessment, you want to complete the following steps. 1. Identify the job. 2. Identify the potential hazards. 3. Identify the controls that are in place or should be in place. And 4. Train and inform others about these hazards. Let's start this process by identifying the job. In this case, it would be handling cattle in corrals or pens. Next, let's take a look at the potential hazards and controls of this particular job.
So some of the potential hazards of this pen are, as you can see it, at that end we have a high-board fence. If you were handling animals in this area, you always want to make sure that you're not backed up against one of those high-board fences, because you won't be able to climb up and over if something were to happen.
Old wooden gates can be a hazard, as they can slow you down and force you to turn your back on the cattle. They also don't provide a safe and secure escape plan.
We have put in steel panels so that they're a little easier to climb over than the old wood corrals like these ones here. You know, there's not as much space for your feet to go through to be able to go over the top of them.
Replacing older wooden fences with steel panel fences ensures an easy escape route should you need to exit the pen quickly. The newer gates are also equipped with pop latches that allow you to easily open and close the gates.
This gate is your typical gate and frame, so it's got this pop latch on it, plus a chain if you need to use it. This is great because you can bring them in and then you close the gate, and it latches right away, so you're not fiddling with a latch. And the whole time that you can close the gate, you can actually be looking at the animals versus turning your back and trying to get the chain done.
You'll also want to minimize the risk of cattle becoming agitated or aggressive while performing pregnancy testing or administering vaccinations. This can be a hazard if you don't have the proper gate and alley systems.
We've installed this tub area about, I'd say 10 years ago. You can swing this gate, the gate for the tub. As we go around, there's the opening that goes down the alley, and then we've used a steel S alley here at the farm. We find that they move better versus going down a straight alley. It seems to make them calmer and not as agitated, because they're kind of just working their way behind their friends.
Some farms are still working with older alley systems when they need to isolate the cattle for testing. By updating your alleys and tubs, the cattle are likely to become less agitated, and the risk of the cattle escaping and injuring the farm worker are significantly reduced. There are many hazards in a cattle corral that could result in a slip, trip, or fall. Take, for example, the legs on the freestanding fences.
You kind of have to be aware so that you don't trip on them. There's been a few ankles twisted here at the farm by stepping on these sideways or jumping over. Never fails, usually in the winter when there's snow and you can't see them and you jump over.
It's important to keep the legs visible at all times, particularly in the winter when they can get covered with snow. Wearing appropriate footwear is important as well, as the conditions of the corrals and pens can change drastically with the weather. The final step in a hazard assessment is to train farm workers on the job, the hazards, and the controls. During training, listen to your family and workers to update your assessments over time.